Trump has been already directing quite a bit of vitriol towards DA Willis. There's a new ad that he has taken out which targets a number of prosecutors. I'll play the part that's relevant to DA Willis' control room if we could play that now.
And Biden's newest lackey, Atlanta DA Fani Willis, so incompetent on her watch violent crimes have exploded.
So we can expect more of that, I'm sure. And I would wonder, given all the back and forth over a protective order in the federal case in and around Trump's efforts to subvert democracy on January 6th, do you think there is going to be a similar battle to protect the discovery evidence, to just effectively curb Trump's impulses to target witnesses, prosecutors, judges? I mean, how's that going to work down in Atlanta?
Well, his mouth has been his biggest enemy, and I hope that whoever put that ad together was fired immediately, because it's one of the dumbest things I've seen you do. You may as well just be pouring gasoline in the engine of the prosecutor's office in a case like that to run that kind of nonsense out. It's silly. I mean, prosecutors expect it. They expect to be called ugly names, but it fires them up at times. And so I think that's really all he's done is energize that. It also causes sometimes courts and other things to come and circle around and protect folks as well. So I just think it was a dumb move, and that's about the kindest word I can think to say about it right now. I wouldn't be surprised to see there be some effort to have a gag order. I think he has shown a pattern, and his team has shown a pattern of trying to intimidate witnesses. That may very well be an added provision on the RICO statute. If he continued that kind of conduct, you may see a follow-up indictment, but there's certainly some proof about it. But we are balancing here the rights of a defendant, a putative defendant at this point, but a criminal defendant, to have access to information, to be able to look at the criminal discovery, to be able to have the documents that will be used against them in court, to have what the witnesses say and the identity of those witnesses and what they expect to testify to or what they've testified to in the past. And so, a defendant does have those rights. And you couple that with this sort of unique posture that we're in a political season. So at the same time that, Trump is attacking and his team is attacking the prosecutors, you've got maybe his Republican opponents and rivals who want to take his old job. They're attacking him now. They've suddenly grown a backbone after several years. They want to come out now and take a shot at him. You've got the current president, who, if Trump is the nominee, is going to be running in a campaign against Trump. And so he's going to have ads out there. So there'll have to be a balancing of Trump's right to campaign, his right to free speech, his right to political speech, his right to respond to attacks and attack ads that are against him during the political season. But when you cross over that place where you start doing things that jeopardize the safety of witnesses, that becomes criminal. And I don't think the judges down here are going to take kindly to it.
Yeah, I think that ad is definitely over the line. And we haven't even gotten an indictment yet. Michael Moore, former U.S. Attorney for the Middle and District of Georgia. Always good to see you, sir. Thanks for your time tonight.
It's always a pleasure. Thank you.